Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Tuesday night. Almost forgot what day it was. June 6, 2023, about 7:19 p.m. here along the West Coast in the state of California. Latest quake shows a 2.7 down into the area of Southern California. First, want to jump into some activity happening around a volcano here along the Cascade Mountain Range outside of Portland. Beautiful Mount Hood. An awesome volcano. Absolutely stunning views if you ever drive this river up here across the Columbia River. It doesn't matter on what side you're on here. It's still a very prominent feature out there in the landscape. Having a little bit of earthquake swarming going on. Looks like about 18 earthquakes recorded so far, including a 3.0. That earthquake coming in just below the surface. It looks like 1.4 kilometers deep there. That was followed up shortly thereafter with a couple twos. Since then, as I mentioned, about 18 earthquakes happening right at the summit, maybe the southwestern edge here of Mount Hood. Of course, Mount Hood is a beautiful stratovolcano, absolutely stunning. The most recent eruption of Mount Hood was back in 1865. The threat potential, according to the USGS, is listed as very high. The current elevation there at 3,426 meters. That's 11,240 feet elevation. So the latest, I wanted to pull up a data station here. This is GPS. I can't find a whole lot of information or GPS stations here with regard to the Mount Hood volcano. But the one that I did find here, just kind of looking for some maybe some elevated uplift or some type of displacement there in the GPS program. As far as the height goes at Mount Hood, I'm not really seeing anything drastic going on. Of course, the measurements here are extraordinarily high as far as the MMs go. But we're just looking at very minimal seasonal adjustment. You can see how it goes up and down seasonally. And that is the cleaned up data. Meaning that they got rid of all the noise, so to speak, there in that graph. Let's go ahead and pull up the tremor map here tonight. I'll show you guys the volcanic seismicity at Mount Hood. We'll check out the local seismograph stations. There again, you can see some of the earthquake activity occurring just on the southwestern flank here of Mount Hood. And again, most of this happened here within the last 2 hours or so. It's been a little while since we've seen any earthquake activity up here. We'll check out this 3-component broadband station up at the top of Palmer Lift. We'll see if we can find some earthquake activity. Not for sure what that is. That may be, well, let's go back here and see what we got for the previous day. There's some of the earthquake activity. It looks like there's the 3.0. And then the 2.6, these guys still have it set at, looks like just below a mile below the surface, at least for sea level, though. So that makes it relatively shallow. And far as other earthquakes there, the seismograph station line is squashed so much that we can't even see any of the other quakes coming in, at least from that map. And this one right here is roughly about the same. It looks like we're seeing a little bit of earthquake activity here, but not 100% certain what this is here. I don't know if this is machinery kicking on or not. I don't think it's any type of harmonic tremor. Harmonic tremor would definitely look something like this, but maybe a little bit thicker. So we'll watch that and see if this kicks up any more overnight. And again, that's just on one station. We can check out a couple other stations here. Unfortunately, there's nothing specifically right up at the summit levels, but around the southeastern or southwestern flank where the earthquake activity is, at least we have that one. Let me check out the other 3-component station here and see what we got. This one's a little bit overblown now. It's either squashed to where you can't see anything going on, or way overblown. Now this earthquake seismograph station picked up also the 3.0 and the 2.6. And again, you can't really see too much activity here. I'd like to see one that may look a little bit normal. I may switch up the channels here in a second. This one here shows a little bit more seismic activity. See that? And the previous day here at Yoakum Ridge, that one's squashed out. It did pick up the 3.0 and the 2.6 as well. Kind of curious to see if this station's going to show anything different. Not really. So we will look into that and keep an eye on it. Of course, it's been a little while since we've seen any seismic activity here at Mount Hood. I know they've had swarms in the past. I think the last swarm was back in 2021. A little bit of activity kicking up there. But yeah, I'll definitely continue to watch that. A couple of these are overdue, right? I mean, well, I'm not for sure what the regular interval occurrence rate of eruptions are at Mount Hood, but if you think about it, 1865, the last eruption, yeah, it's kind of who knows why? It could be overdue. Mount Hood has erupted episodically for about 500,000 years and hosted two major eruptive periods during the past 1,500 years. During both recent eruptive periods, growing lava domes high on the southwest flank collapsed repeatedly to form pyroclastic flows. Now, that's kind of where the earthquake activity is currently occurring. M3.9 earthquake and swarm. That was back in, there we go, 2021. So yeah, that looks like, well, we're coming up on, almost 2 years to the date. Today's the 6th. Goodness. June 6th. So yeah, 2 years to the date. We'll definitely continue to watch that. As far as the rest of the volcanoes go, a little bit of activity up into Washington area around Mount Rainier. A couple smaller quakes, nothing like what Mount Hood has seen. The tremor map here tonight. Let's check out the Cascadia tremor. See what we got going on. Looks like about 94 epicenters here in Oregon. Southern edge here of the Cascadia subduction zone. Looks like it's dropping off each day, but we'll continue to watch that. Far as earthquake activity at the Cascadia, a little bit of movement here at the southern end. Looks like we had a 3.5 yesterday and 1.8 yesterday. Today, a 2.1. That was early this morning, though, it looks like. As far as any major earthquake activity across the West Coast, things are relatively quiet. One earthquake coming into the Nevada-California border near Silver Peak. That area has seen a little bit of swarming off and on here up against the northern Death Valley fault zone. Across Idaho and Yellowstone, looks like a little bit of movement there at Yellowstone here in the last 24 hours at 2.2 earlier this afternoon. Let's see what we got here for earthquake activity. There's the 2.2. I can see that showing up already over here. Holmes Hill. And what looks like maybe some smaller microquake activity following that movement, but nothing big going on. Not even any major swarming going on there at Yellowstone National Park. Looking at the rest of the country here, a little spotty as we look through the east. Still seeing some movement out here across the Caribbean plate. Did see 4.3 earlier this afternoon here in the Leeward Islands area in the Dominica region. That earthquake 123 kilometers deep. There's a subduction zone that sits just to the east here along this interface here of the subduction region. A little bit of movement here across the Chile area as well with a 4.1. That earthquake 35 kilometers deep. Into the Big Island of Hawaii, things lighten up slightly around the Pahala area. Kilauea volcano still taking a little pause in between little earthquake swarms. Nothing major changing though at the Big Island. Up here in the Alaska region, roughly about the same as what we've seen last night as well. A little bit of movement here in the Cook Inlet area, it looks like, or not the Cook Inlet, this is way up north here, but into this strait. Not for sure exactly how you pronounce that, but looks like they had a 4.3 and most recently a 3.5 into that area. Coral Kamchatka Trench over here, got a 4.4 from early this morning, and a little scattered activity as we look at the rest of the Pacific Plate. Now, movement in this area appears to be tapering down even on the EMSC model here. We're not seeing a whole lot of movement. Still seeing some activity ramping up and back building here across the Loyalty Islands area with some movement here along this bend. Of course, they did have some rather large earthquake activity out here over the last month. This is the last 30 days, 4.5 and above. We did have a 7.7 earthquake back on the 18th. Still seeing some aftershock activity here to this date with a 5.2, a 5.2, and a 4.9. A little bit of movement here across the Tonga Trench as well. Some deeper activity from early this morning. New Zealand. Let's see what's going on here across the New Zealand area. Still waiting for some movement to take place down here. 3.6, it looks like just off the North Island area. We'll give a quick glance here at the GeoNet servers here. Well, they're showing a 2.9. Let's see if we can get all the magnitudes here. Looking for the three-pointer, looking for the three-pointer. A couple twos and some ones here. There's a 3.6, 3 hours ago. 12 kilometers deep, unnoticed, but it is being reported here by the GeoNet servers. As far as any major wide-scale earthquake activity goes, well, there's that three-pointer showing up here on the northern stations of North Island. Aside from that, goodness, a little bit of activity there, South Island. That was about 6 to 7 hours ago, though. Aside from that, things are they look quiet across New Zealand. But again, I am definitely expecting that to change here. Not for sure exactly when, but all the movement around here, across the plate boundary south, definitely puts New Zealand in the line of fire as far as adjustment goes. Across the areas of the Himalayas, couple fours out here. Some movement across the Romania area and also the Turkey region, picking up on some smaller aftershock activity as well. 5.1 down into the South Sandwich Trench over here at the southern end, 35 kilometers deep. That one coming in just earlier this afternoon time period. Continue to watch that. Aside from that earthquake, the Atlantic Ocean here looks pretty clear. Not a whole lot of movement out here taking place. All right, space weather activity. Going to jump off here because it got a little bit of rain headed this way here outside of Chico and Northern Cal. Going to go out there and probably stand in the rain and do a little bit of cleansing. Flare activity, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 30, 10% chance for an X flare. I don't think we're going to see any X flare activity. The magnetic structures here of the sunspots that are currently facing the Earth really do not harbor any potential for any X flare activities. These are kind of going away. They're deteriorating and fairly stable. We are getting the sunspot back here, starting to back build a little bit of intermixing of some polarities here with the colors. I still think that's the main sunspot region we need to watch. This sunspot up here in the northeastern quadrant of the sun, it looks like it's developing rapidly compared to this morning, so we'll watch this area as well. And further out here on the eastern limb of the sun, well, we'll have to wait and see what comes around the bend. Right now, it just looks very minimal. Not a whole lot of auroras out there, unfortunately, for the next few days, unless we get a massive CME Earth directed. All right, folks, I am going to jump off here. The weather right now, again, we've got a little bit of rain coming in. Heard a few rumbles of thunder out here around Chico, California, just a little bit ago. I'm going to go out there and enjoy a little bit of the rainfall. Have a good night. We'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. Peace out.